Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. My wife and I have been married for over 20 years, building a life together that spans love, growth, and shared memories. At 43, I am proud of the family we've nurtured, while my wife Avery recently turned 40. We have two teenagers, Darcy, a vibrant 16-year-old, and David, our inquisitive 14-year-old. When we exchanged vows, I had just completed my degree, and Avery was finishing her final semester. Currently, I hold a managerial role in engineering at a mid-sized firm in the city. Avery, on the other hand, has established herself as a skilled paralegal in a well-respected law office. Together, we prioritize staying active, visiting the gym regularly, and indulging in outdoor adventures like hiking whenever the weather cooperates. My name is Michael Williams, and I'd like to think I've created a good life for my family. Though I've never seen myself as a grand romantic, I take pride in keeping Avery happy. Our physical connection remains a source of intimacy and joy, with a consistent frequency that's kept our relationship strong. Even after 2 decades, Avery's beauty often turns heads, particularly when she dresses up for an evening out. Our children bring immeasurable pride. Both excel in academics, maintain friendships, and are well regarded by their peers. I've always been hands-on in their upbringing, coaching them through homework, cheering them on at games, and organizing family outings. Being present in their lives has always been a cornerstone of my values. In my role as an engineering manager, my duties revolve around overseeing projects rather than diving into detailed tasks. This flexibility allows me to preserve my weekends and avoid late nights. Avery's job occasionally demands overtime during high-pressure cases, but such instances are rare. Our lives overall felt steady and satisfying, yet beneath the surface, there were undercurrents of trouble beginning to ripple. Unbeknownst to me, a storm was brewing in the form of Rick Walker, a confident, brash attorney who had recently joined Avery's firm. Rick was the epitome of self-assurance, his chiseled physique a testament to his dedication to fitness. His bold demeanor exuded an almost invincible aura. I first encountered Rick at one of Avery's office gatherings. Throughout the evening, his flirtations with her were unabashed. When I expressed my unease afterward, Avery dismissed my concerns, calling them immature and insisting it was all harmless fun. At home, I attempted to explain that while I trusted her, his behavior disrespected our relationship. Though she didn't entirely agree, she conceded enough to ease the tension, and life quickly returned to normal. For 6 months, things seemed unchanged until Avery became engrossed in a major case that had consumed 2 years of her professional life. As the case reached its climax, Avery's work hours grew longer. She remained diligent about staying in touch every evening, and I had no reason to doubt her integrity. However, what began as innocent banter with Rick had quietly evolved into something deeper without my knowledge. When the case concluded, Avery's firm organized a weekend retreat at a senior partner's cabin. Having visited the location before, I was familiar with both the setting and our hosts, Chuck and Lou. With Darcy and David mature enough to manage on their own for a weekend, Avery and I decided to attend. The cabin, nestled in nature, offered a picturesque escape. The evening began well, though Rick's constant attention toward Avery didn't go unnoticed. I chose to brush it aside, not wanting to mar the weekend. Later, as we gathered around the fire pit, my irritation lingered, but I refrained from addressing it, retiring to bed feeling drained. The next morning, I woke early to the scent of fresh coffee. Quietly slipping out of bed, I joined Chuck and Lou in the kitchen to help with breakfast preparations. As others arrived, I noticed Rick had claimed my seat next to Avery. When I asked him to move, Avery surprised me by suggesting I find another spot. Though hurt, I complied and stepped outside to collect my thoughts. The awkward glances exchanged by the group during this exchange didn't escape me. Throughout the day, Avery seemed glued to Rick's side, whether during a hike, a swim in the lake, or casual chats. Each attempt I made to reconnect with her was deflected with light-hearted dismissal, leaving me feeling increasingly alienated. By the evening, my patience had worn thin. Determined to draw a boundary, I preemptively took the seat beside Avery before Rick could. The resulting tension cast a shadow over the gathering, making everyone visibly uncomfortable. Frustrated, I excused myself early, heading to our room to pack for an early departure. As I tidied up in the kitchen, Avery entered, asking to talk. Her timing felt almost ironic, given her neglect of me throughout the day. She began hesitantly, her cheeks flushing as she spoke. Avery assured me she had never been unfaithful and had no intention of crossing that line. However, she admitted to a simmering sexual tension with Rick, a confession that struck like a thunderbolt, deepening my sense of betrayal. That's why I have to be honest with you. I'll be spending the night with him. I wanted to tell you beforehand so it wouldn't feel like a betrayal. There's no sneaking around here. I'm not that kind of person. No hiding, no lies. No, absolutely not. This is unacceptable. Let me be clear. I can't and won't agree to this. The connection between us has always been real, and I need to protect it. If you do this, there will be real consequences. I won't support this choice. If you love me, you'll understand. It's just one time. I need to figure out where this leads, for my own clarity. Tomorrow, I'll return, fully committed to you again. But tonight, this is something I have to do. If you loved me, you wouldn't even consider this. The idea alone is unbearable. Don't do this to us, Avery. I'm begging you. Michael, I hear you, but this is something I've decided. I'll be back in the morning and we can talk then. Let's discuss it during the drive home tomorrow. With that, she left the room. Just like that, 20 years of marriage unraveled. She believed I'd wait, arms open, ready to forgive her and carry on as if nothing had changed. But she was wrong. We had spoken about loyalty many times before. Friends of ours had cheated, and we'd made a mutual promise. No excuses, no exceptions. Infidelity was a line that could not be crossed. It didn't matter if she told me in advance. It didn't make it any less of a betrayal. I poured the drink I'd been holding down the sink. I didn't need liquid courage for what came next. I went upstairs and started packing my belongings. I left her things where they were. Those would be her problem to deal with. After turning off the lights, I sat on the bed, waiting. An hour passed before I heard the others return to the house and settle into their rooms. I waited another 30 minutes to make sure the coast was clear. Then, with my bag in hand, I slipped out quietly and shut the door behind me. The night air was still, and I moved without a sound. My car, parked far away, started quietly. By the time I pulled into our driveway, it was a little after 2 a.m. The house lights were still on, a sign that one of the kids was awake. I grabbed my bag and went inside. Sure enough, both kids were watching a movie. "Dad, what are you doing here? I thought you weren't coming home until tomorrow," Darcy asked. David glanced over, curious. "Yeah, where's Mom?" I sighed. "Your mom is still at the cabin," I replied. "She's with someone else, in his bed." It was blunt, yes, but they needed the truth. They deserved to know what was happening. Could I have phrased it more delicately? Probably. But at that moment, I wasn't concerned about softening the blow. "What do you mean? Is she cheating on you?" Darcy asked, her voice rising in anger. "That's exactly what I mean," I said. "She told me she'd be with someone else tonight. I didn't stick around to watch it happen. I packed up and came home. Let her figure out how to get back on her own." We talked for a while before I took my bag to the spare room. I spent the next hour moving my belongings out of the bedroom we'd shared and into what would now be my space. The guest room was comfortable enough, with its own bathroom and a decent bed. Exhausted, I collapsed onto it and fell asleep. Early in the morning, my phone started ringing incessantly. Avery's name flashed on the screen. I sent it to voicemail. She'd already left several messages and texts. Curiosity got the better of me, so I checked them. The first messages were casual, asking where I was and mentioning breakfast. Then came worry, questions about why I'd left and where I had gone. Finally, they turned angry, demanding I come back to get her. The last one promised that she'd find her own way home and make me pay for leaving her behind. Realizing I was fully awake, I got up, showered, and got dressed. I went downstairs to prepare for what I knew was coming. By then, the kids were up. I warned them to steer clear of the confrontation that was about to unfold. They laughed it off, but I could tell they weren't happy with their mom either. When the front door slammed open, I knew she had arrived. "Where the hell have you been?" she shouted. I stayed calm. "Well," I replied, "if you're looking for your dignity, I imagine you left it back in Rick's bed last night." Her face flushed deep red, and for a moment, I wondered if she might actually pass out before her rage erupted. "How could you do this to me? Leaving me like that, making me beg for a ride home? Do you know how embarrassing that was?" she yelled. "I was going to make things right with you today, but now you've ruined everything." I didn't flinch. "Embarrassed? That's nothing compared to how humiliated I felt knowing you were with another man. And as for making things right, there's no right after what you did. You're damaged goods now." "How dare you say that? I'm your wife!" she cried. "No," I said firmly. "Maybe on paper. But my wife wouldn't have done this. My wife disappeared the moment you made that decision." "But I told you. I was honest about it. It's not cheating if I'm upfront," she argued. "Let's be clear," I said, my voice steady. "Last night, did you sleep with someone who wasn't your husband?" "Yes, I did. I told you I was going to." "You let him get intimate with you?" "Of course," she said, as if it were obvious. "Why else would I spend the night with him?" "Then you cheated. Whether you told me or not doesn't matter. You didn't ask for my input. You made a decision and ignored my objections. That's betrayal. End of story." "If you truly cared about me, you'd let this go," she said. "If your love was real, we could move past this." What a naive thought. If she'd ever truly loved me, the mere idea of being with someone else wouldn't have even crossed her mind. Without another word, I turned away and headed to the garage to tinker with my 1969 Nova. That car had started its life with a modest 6-cylinder engine and a 3-speed manual transmission. I had replaced the engine with a small block V8 and upgraded the transmission to a 4-speed. These days, car enthusiasts are all about restomods, fitting classic cars with modern, computer-driven engines. Sure, they get more horsepower and better fuel economy. I won't argue that. But I prefer the old ways. Modern engines are too reliant on computers, and you practically need an IT degree just to keep them running. Give me a traditional setup any day. With older engines, you can handle the work yourself. Run the wiring, tweak a few adjustments, and it's good to go. But with the modern systems, you have to install electronic components, hook up a controller, and then pay a professional a small fortune to program it all before the engine will even turn over. No thank you. In the months that followed, Avery made countless attempts to get me to talk to her. I wasn't interested. She even resorted to sneaking into my room late at night on multiple occasions. I had anticipated that and changed the locks. As far as I was concerned, we were just two people living under the same roof for the sake of the kids. Why didn't I just file for divorce? The answer was simple. The children. The thought of being reduced to a part-time dad was unbearable. I couldn't stand the idea of being away from them. Besides, David had only 3 years left until he finished high school and left for college. Eventually, Avery tried to involve the kids in her efforts to make me engage with her. That move backfired spectacularly. The children were upset, especially when she tried to paint me as the bad guy. Darcy was quick to call her out. "Mom, Dad has never said a single bad thing about you to us," she said firmly. "But you've criticized him more than once. Don't blame him for how we feel. That's on you." Those were turbulent times for the Williams family. 4 months later, Avery began trying a new tactic. When the kids weren't home, she dressed provocatively, sometimes wearing lingerie that left little to the imagination, hoping to seduce me. I'll admit, the temptation was there. Avery is a stunning woman, but I resisted. Her betrayal wasn't something I could simply ignore. 6 months after everything had unraveled, she made her boldest move yet. One evening, she stood in front of me wearing a sheer black nightgown and spoke plainly. "I can't do this anymore, Michael. I need you." "It's been 6 months," she continued, her voice trembling. "I need you to come to bed and make love to me." My response was cold. "Why don't you call your lover instead?" Her voice cracked as she denied it. "I don't have a lover. I haven't been with anyone since that night. I'm asking you, Michael, and if you refuse, I'll find someone who will." The ultimatum was clear. I looked at her steadily. Just make sure you take them somewhere else. Don't bring anyone into this house. Go to their place, a hotel, even their car, but not here. Her face crumpled, and she ran out of the room in tears. Actions have consequences, and hers had led us here. I don't want anyone else, she sobbed as she fled. I only want you. For some, my refusal might seem harsh. She's gorgeous after all, and it had been months, but every time I thought about it, all I could see was the image of her in another man's arms, her colleagues laughing behind my back. That vision was enough to extinguish any desire. No matter how beautiful she was, the betrayal overshadowed everything. A week later, on a quiet Saturday night, I was sitting in the living room with a glass of scotch and soda, engrossed in a book. Avery appeared at the foot of the stairs, dressed like she was ready for a glamorous evening out. Tight jeans, high heels, fine jewelry. It was a look that reminded me of the parties we used to attend together. "Michael," she said, her voice pleading, "I need you. Please come upstairs. Be with me. If you won't, I'll find someone who will." I set the book down and looked at her. "You look incredible. I'm sure you'll have no trouble finding someone to spend the night with. But if you do, understand this. It will be an open marriage. If you sleep with someone else, I'll consider us both free to see others." "That's not what I want," she said, her voice rising in frustration. "I want you. I'm offering myself to you and you keep turning me away. Why? If you don't want me anymore, just say so. Do you want a divorce?" "No," I replied evenly. "What I want is the woman I married, the one who loved me and was faithful to me. That's not who you are anymore. You broke my trust that night, and I don't know how to get it back." "I've promised to be faithful," she said desperately. "I'll never hurt you again." "Words mean nothing after what you've done," I said. "Actions matter." Tears streamed down her face. "How long will you keep punishing me? What can I do to fix this?" I sighed, the weight of it all pressing down. "There's nothing you can do. It's already broken. My focus now is to make things work for the kids. Once David graduates, we'll go our separate ways. Until then, we're just housemates." She looked devastated. "If that's the case, I'll file for divorce myself." "You're free to do that," I replied. "But the kids are old enough to choose where they want to live, and I know they'll choose me." She stared at me for a long time before walking away. For me, the decision was final. The trust was gone, and no apology or promise could restore it. The damage was done, and the path forward was already clear. The first path was straightforward. We could finalize our divorce immediately, transforming our roles into part-time parents. The alternative was unconventional, continuing to live together while granting each other complete independence. This would ensure the children had both parents present at home, though our marriage would exist only in name. We'd share the same roof, but lead entirely separate lives otherwise. Dating other people was acceptable, provided we agreed not to bring anyone back to the house. True to the arrangement, she dressed up that evening, carefully applied her makeup, and headed out. Meanwhile, I began navigating the world of dating myself. Within a month, this became our new normal. Polite but distant, we coexisted as cordial roommates focused on co-parenting. Outwardly, we still appeared to be a family. Social obligations often saw us attending events together to maintain appearances. However, it didn't take long for colleagues to piece things together. I had started seeing women from work, and she had begun dating men she'd met through hers. Occasionally, she would attempt to reignite the spark between us, and to my regret, I sometimes gave in. She remained as stunning as ever, and after a drink or two, my resolve occasionally faltered. Even then, it was purely physical, devoid of any emotional connection. Eventually, the arrangement reached its inevitable conclusion. "Is this really the end?" Avery asked, her voice trembling as I placed another box in the back of my truck. "Yes, this is it," I confirmed. "Thank you for 20 amazing years," she said quietly. "It was 23 years," I corrected. "I know," she whispered, her eyes brimming with tears. 3 years passed. David had settled into his college dorm, and Darcy was preparing for her freshman year at university. The house had been sold, and we were each packing away the remnants of our shared history. Our divorce was nearly finalized, awaiting only the judge's signature. We had divided our assets equally, ensuring the children's college funds were intact. As she boxed up keepsakes, she spoke softly, "I still love you, you know." "I know," I replied, equally subdued. "I'm sorry." "Me too," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Will you call me sometimes? Maybe visit? No pressure, just to stay in touch." The resentment I once felt toward her had long since faded. While the deep love we once shared was gone, I couldn't bring myself to hate her. In many ways, she had become a friend. We'd always share a bond through our children, and truth be told, she still had an undeniable allure. "Sure, we can do that," I said. Birthdays, graduations, weddings, and grandchildren would ensure our paths crossed regardless. The children forgave Avery for the past, though their relationship with her was never quite the same. She bought a modest 3-bedroom apartment for their visits, while I moved into a small house with land and a workshop. Living in the same small town meant our paths frequently intersected. We kept in touch, occasionally meeting for dinner or drinks. While she sometimes hinted at reconciliation, I knew it wasn't in the cards. She eventually entered a few serious relationships, while I embraced my single life. For me, marriage had fulfilled its roles, raising children and providing companionship. With the former complete and the latter no longer a priority, I saw no reason to marry again. 5 years after our divorce, Avery invited me to lunch. "I have a big favor to ask," she began. "I'll understand if you say no, but please consider it." "Go ahead," I said, setting my drink down. I had a feeling this wasn't just a casual meal. Glancing around, I added, "Where's your boyfriend? Doesn't he mind you meeting me?" She smiled. "Andrew knows. He even encouraged me to ask. He's happy to talk with you if you'd like." "All right, I'm listening," I said. "Michael, Andrew proposed, and I said yes," she announced. "Good for you," I said. "Do you love him? Are you ready to move forward?" "I'll never fully forget us," she admitted. "But I've come to terms with our ending. Andrew and I are happy. I love him, and I'm ready to start this new chapter." "So, what's the favor?" I asked. "If you're looking for my blessing, you already have it." She hesitated before saying, "I want you to walk me down the aisle." I was taken aback. "What?" "I want you to give me away at my wedding," she repeated. "Avery, most ex-wives don't even invite their ex-husbands to the wedding, let alone ask them to play a role in the ceremony," I said, still processing the request. "I know, but hear me out," she said, explaining her reasoning. "You were the most significant man in my life, aside from my father, who's no longer here. You were my last great love. This gesture would symbolize passing that part of my life to Andrew, showing everyone we've moved forward as friends." Though unconventional, her logic carried a peculiar clarity. I met Andrew for drinks that evening to hear his perspective. He confessed to initial reservations but had come to support Avery's reasoning. I even consulted our kids, seeking their opinions. Ultimately, I agreed. The wedding was as unconventional as the request, yet deeply meaningful. When asked, "Who gives this woman away?" I responded, "Her family and her ex-husband do." The reception was lively, and my role in the ceremony was well received. A few women even approached me, intrigued by the unusual dynamic. As I watched Avery embark on her new journey, I felt a profound sense of closure. Our story had reached its conclusion, but the threads of our shared past had been delicately woven into her new beginning. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.